down to the third business day of the week. It's Wednesday, the 17th of October. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the program. This is your Business Morning with me, Boston Omofayi. We're live to you from Lagos, Nigeria's financial capital. Let's get our Wednesday business and markets briefing straight to you. So, elections 2019 is a go. That's how that advertorial goes, isn't it? So, the House of Reps yesterday gives a nod to Buhari's administration's budgetary request, 242.2 billion naira to fund the 2019 general elections. And that was the amount that was approved yesterday. So the monies will cover what I will be part of that for INEC, which is about 100 billion plus. The security agencies, the police, the military, and the rest will get a part of that money as well. Then the Office of the National Security Advisor will also get part of the 242 billion naira. Those monies are taken from the service-wide vote. So, how much will the 2019 elections cost? That's the figure there at the bottom of your TV screen. You may have to write that down somewhere. 831.2 billion, almost $1 trillion naira, is what the 2019 elections will cost the taxpayers. Let's move on to one good news that's coming from the Local Content Management Board, Nigeria's NLNG Train 7. The Local Content Board Chief Executive Simbi Wabote says the $4.3 billion plant will be built largely by indigenous or Nigerian companies. That's the news that we got. The NLNG is getting ready to build the 7th train. It's been a very successful multi-billion-dollar venture. Now, the 7th train, according to the Local Content and Management Board Chief Executive, will be the business of putting it together will be considered to be that of Nigerians. We'll see how that move forward when we get down to business. Meantime, Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, says the public sector lacks the necessary skills and tools to manage projects under what you call the public-private partnership. But the Vice President says there is more transparency now in place for members of the public to monitor projects under the PPP arrangement. The Vice President was speaking at the opening of West African or sub-regional PPP project risk management conference in Abuja on Tuesday. And he says Nigeria is opening up its books the more on electronic basis to make sure folks can track public-private partnership projects. And straight to the market street. FCMB Group has notified the markets that the filing of its 9 months unaudited earnings due October the 31st will be delayed till November the 29th. That's almost a month. The reason, according to the Financial Services Group, is because its commercial banking subsidiary, which is FCMB Limited, is under what you call regulatory audit. So the earnings will be delayed. Third quarter or 9 months earnings, January to September, will be delayed till the end of November. Meantime, UBA has announced the earnings for the third quarter 2018, showing a 12.3% jump in gross earnings to 374.8 billion naira. The net operating profit for the commercial lender climbs 1.7%. Operating expenses was up 2.3% to almost 150 billion, while a net profit was in at 80 billion naira. All that earnings are all part of the market news. Yesterday, we saw a very strong comeback for the Nigerian equities sector. Investors trade actively on the banking shares, and we've been talking about this since the start of the week. So are the bulls showing their hands, and is this a pushback for the bears? Let's get a sense of this. Fresh back from Bali, Indonesia, our business correspondent, Temple Ashaju, is live to you this morning from the Nigerian Stock Exchange. That is an island on its own, not like the island of Bali, but the stock exchange is an island of its own. Not by location really, but because we don't have two stock exchanges, just one. Tempo, it's good to have you on that island. Good morning.
Good morning, Bosin. Thank you so much. Well, I agree with you. Two exchanges, one for the equities and, of course, the other for the debt market. It's all capital markets, if you ask me. So it's an island for the capital market, so to say. Well, let's just move on from where you actually stopped. We got the bulls now coming back to the market. Yesterday, the market rose from 0.95%, meaning 95 basis points, and the all-share index stood at 32,722.18 points after the equity capitalization ended up rising by the same margin to 11.946 trillion naira. Now, you look at the activity chart, we got a bit of spike in terms of the volume and value performance yesterday, 624.3% spike in terms of volume of stocks traded yesterday, which came in at 662.021 million. And in terms of the value of that, it was 5.31 billion naira, representing 452.8% increase in terms of the performance now. Now, for total deals yesterday was just 3,025, and that's after we saw goods rally on the banking and consumer goods, as well as the industrial goods names. In terms of the banking sector, was up some 13 basis points, mainly on the kind of increase that we saw on Zenith Bank, which rose some 1.57% yesterday. And for the consumer goods sector, we have Nigerian breweries that rose some 3.14%, helping the consumer goods sector to have this 117 basis points level of increase that we had yesterday. For the industrial goods sector, one of the major reasons why the key benchmark index rose by some 95 basis points yesterday, Dangote Cement woke up and moved some 2.50%. And that's why we had the industrial goods sector rising at 24 basis points as we had yesterday. But if you look at the insurance and oil and gas sector, we had a bit of sell-off on Niger Insurance, which dipped some 9.09%, impacting that sector by 45 basis points. Now, oil and gas sector was also down on account of the sell-off we saw on Seplat, which moved from 630 naira depreciating to 620 naira yesterday, and that's by 1.30%. But if you look generally at the market breadth was negative because we had 23 losers versus 16 gainers yesterday. Zenith Bank, which is one of the major top trade companies yesterday, did some 6 million for 22 naira 50 kobo as it stands right now. For the top gainer, you had USC Properties, which was at 9 naira 94 kobo, and Better Glass dipped some 10% yesterday. Yes, we talked about the earnings of UBA, which came in this morning. We'll be watching how that will also perform today, because it was one of the major companies that investors had so much interest for yesterday. We'll recall that it's been experiencing so much sentiment from investors in recent times. But this takes us to the energy markets, where there was a bit of movement on Forte Oil that rose some 22 basis points yesterday. We saw Owando PLC declined some 3.85% after investors exchanged transactions on the 1.83 million units of its shares yesterday. You got Japol PLC dipping some 8.70% to 21 kobo. For Seplat, like we said earlier, Seplat fell from 6 naira 30 kobo, 630 naira rather, to 620 naira. And in terms of the NASD OTC, the USI is back at 700 psychological line, standing now at 703.40 after gaining some 13 basis points yesterday. Market capitalization also rose to 488 138.88 billion naira, and volume of all that was transacted yesterday was 175.03 million units, all valued at 2.321 billion naira after investors did just 13 deals yesterday. But if you look at some of the major companies that helped to have this level of sentiment or positive record that we have yesterday at the unlisted securities market, Ensure PLC was one of the top gainers. We also have Mastcom, an ICT company. You got CSCS, the Capital Market Depository. You have UBN PLC from the real estate sector of that market. And you have ARM Life from the insurance sector of that market. Ensure PLC, think is still experiencing the merger and acquisition process that it's supposed to have. And this leads us to the fixed income market, where the bonds market yesterday was really bearish. Proceedings on Tuesday saw average yields rising some 2 basis points to 14.96%, as we saw sell pressure concentrated at the short end of the curve. If you take a look at your January 2022 bond, it had to rise some 25 basis points as a result of the cold shoulder given to it by investors, while the demand on the February 2028 security now saw a bit of contraction in its yield by 7 basis points. And for March 2037, we also had a bit of contraction there by some 10 basis points in terms of the yield. These are securities that were now priced for the February 2028, priced at 94 naira 1 kobo. And if you look at the number of deals there, which explains the level of demands that we saw, there was 10 deals yesterday. In terms of the treasury bill segment of the market, yesterday was also bearish for treasury bills. Average yield expanded by some 16 basis points to 13.42%, where we saw yields also rising at the short end of the curve, generally by some 3 basis points, while for the long end of the curve it was 14 basis points. And that follows the sell-offs that we saw on the 16-day to maturity, talking about the short end of the curve now, as well as the long end of the curve, where you have the 275-day to maturity bills. In terms of the medium side of the curve, it was basically flat yesterday because we saw more sideways trading there. But both of you know that today we will be having the treasury bill auction, where the CBN will be offering 147 billion naira, 147.63 billion naira precisely. Of course, that's across the 91-day, 182-day, and the 364-day pair tenors now. That, of course, will be giving you updates in terms of how investors go for this, participate in the auction today. That result will be released later in the day for us to then deliver to you tomorrow. Bosun.
Yes, of course, the fixed income bearish or very tepid sentiment. We'll get a little bit more from FMDQ later on the program. Of course, today, yes, you talk about nearly 150 billion treasury bills auction. Then you also have what you call the commercial banks and other dealers putting naira aside for the second FX intervention arrangement of the central bank for the week. So that's putting a bit of a pressure on liquidity. But we'll get a bit of a sense of today's treasury auctions, and of course the repayment of matured treasuries tomorrow, which usually occurs on Thursday, how much money is coming in, and all that into liquidity situation for the fixed income space. Temple, thank you very much. We'll look forward to see you later on the program towards the end, giving us a sense of how the market is pricing in the earnings from UBA PLC, and of course the delay which has just been announced by FCMB Group today, filing notice with the Nigerian Stock Exchange and Investing Public that the Financial Services Group will not be reporting its third quarter numbers on October the 31st, but that's been pushed up till November the 29th because the commercial bank subsidiary or arm of the financial services company is being audited under necessary regulatory requirements there. So that's from FCMB. How all of this are coming together, we'll get a sense of that of the trading day and how that is opening up as we look at the first 1 hour of trading. This is your Business Morning. We'll be right back after the break. $1 billion has been put on the table to help Africa invest more in the human capital, or what we call the human element. Who is putting the money on the table, and how should this money be invested? Let's take a look at that when we come back.